Stop treating depth like an excuse to stand still. The Chargers have young speed demanding a role, a possible trade target who could set the fan base on fire, a cornerback fighting for his NFL future, and an offensive pairing that could destroy every conservative prediction about this team. Los Angeles faces one challenge: develop what is already here without ignoring the chance to become something bigger. Today we are looking at who can swing games and why Mike McDaniel was not handed these pieces to run a safe offense. If you want more aggression, hit that like button and jump into the fight with me. Brenen Thompson does not need to win Offensive Rookie of the Year to change this offense. He only needs to make defenses respect a threat almost nobody can run with. In Mike McDaniel's system, that can earn meaningful snaps and force opponents to rethink their alignment. Los Angeles spent most of the offseason betting on growth from Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, and Trey Harris. That is not ignoring the receiver room. It is a deliberate bet on three answers. McConkey can control the slot where timing matters. Johnston and Harris bring size, strength, and vertical reach. Thompson adds what no coach can create: elite speed. At Mississippi State, Thompson led the SEC with 1,054 receiving yards on 57 catches. He scored 6 touchdowns and averaged 18.5 yards per reception. Then he ran a 4.26-second 40-yard dash at the Combine. The production matches the profile. McDaniel pushed for the Chargers to draft him because that speed has a clear job in his offense. Still, keep expectations under control. Thompson must sharpen his route running and show reliable hands on deep balls. He is not Tyreek Hill, and asking him to become a copy would be reckless. This is about function, not stardom. This kind of burst stretches the field, drags a safety away, and creates room for shorter throws to explode after the catch. It could even let the Chargers move McConkey outside in some formations, changing the secondary's picture without substituting. That is the rookie's path. He does not have to take over the offense. He needs to own a package, win his camp reps, and make one bad defensive step feel dangerous. If he consistently finishes plays by catching the football, McDaniel will have a weapon who changes the geometry of a defense before the snap. That impact matters even when Thompson never touches the ball. Respect for speed creates space, and McDaniel knows how to use it. Trusting a rookie does not end the conversation about experience. That is where a rumor out of Minnesota suddenly enters the Chargers' plans. Jordan Addison entered trade speculation after Bill Barnwell argued he could be worth a first-round pick. Kansas City has been connected, and Los Angeles has also been mentioned as a possible destination for another Justin Herbert weapon. This is a market possibility, not a reported negotiation. It is still worth discussing because ignoring it would be too comfortable for a franchise chasing more than the wildcard round. Addison finished last season with 610 receiving yards, his lowest total in 3 Minnesota seasons. The Vikings exercised his 5th-year option, so they control his contract and face no pressure. The 1-year signing of Juwan Jennings adds competition, while Justin Jefferson remains untouchable unless someone brings an outrageous offer. If Minnesota's season collapses, listening to calls on Addison could make more sense. That is when a summer rumor could become a real decision. The appeal for the Chargers is obvious. Addison is young, creates separation with quickness, and can line up in multiple spots. Put him next to McConkey, and Los Angeles could have 2 receivers who are extremely hard to track in motion. Herbert would gain another target who can win early in the route, which matters when pressure arrives early. But one question needs an honest answer. Should the Chargers give up first-round value for a player whose best areas may overlap with the best receiver already on this roster? I support aggression. I do not support spending premium capital just to look aggressive. If Minnesota makes Addison available, Joe Ortiz should call, learn the price, and explore every deal structure. A high pick for a partially redundant profile could limit future moves and create an unnecessary cost. But if the price falls into a reasonable range, the calculation changes quickly. Modern offenses do not suffer from having 2 smart separators against different coverages. I reject the idea that McConkey needs another receiver to validate him. He has shown he can be the top option. The case for Addison is different. It is about splitting the defense's attention, speeding up Herbert's answers, and stopping one injury from turning depth into desperation. That strengthens the offense. It does not rescue a receiver who already belongs at its center. Thompson does not block this possibility. The rookie brings vertical acceleration. Addison would bring NFL experience and polish. One threatens the deepest part of the field, while the other could multiply the answers in the intermediate game. Keenan Allen continues to be linked with a return, but nothing has developed. The front office need not choose today between trust and help. It needs to be ready if the market opens a real window. Watching Kansas City move first would be passivity Los Angeles cannot accept in its division. Patience is defensible. Being unprepared is not. The difference will be whether Ortiz knows his limit before another contender sets the price. While the market creates shiny names, Aaron Rodgers is fighting a less glamorous battle. He must prove that 4 explosive preseason plays revealed a real NFL player, not one unforgettable night people still replay. Rodgers entered the league as an undrafted free agent in 2025 after time at Northern Illinois and Rutgers. His college path was not smooth. There was an injury, a transfer, and an adjustment after entering Big Ten competition. When he found room to contribute, he showed the instinct to turn a read into points. He returned a punt for a touchdown in 2023, then took an interception to the end zone in 2024. His testing explains why every team passed on him in the draft. His RAS was nowhere near elite, and evaluators questioned his weight and speed. But football does not reward a spreadsheet once a cornerback closes the window and steals possession. In 2 preseason games for the Chargers, Rodgers recorded 4 tackles, 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown, a forced fumble, and 4 pass breakups. Against New Orleans, he attacked the football like he knew the quarterback's plan. Then the injury arrived. Los Angeles kept Rodgers on the initial 53-man roster before placing him on injured reserve, ending his 2025 season while keeping him connected to the team for 2026. That move does not guarantee him a job. It only guarantees another chance to finish an argument his body interrupted. His contract runs for 2 more seasons, with a base salary of $885,000 in 2026, according to SpotTrack. That cost matters for a team needing affordable depth, but cheap depth only becomes valuable when the player can enter the game without forcing the defense to protect him. Rodgers must prove he can contribute without becoming a weakness opponents immediately target. His camp challenge is brutal. Rodgers must show repeatable technique, stay healthy, and contribute on special teams. If his level drops, the practice squad becomes possible. If he recaptures that aggression around the football without allowing easy completions, he can pressure a cornerback room still sorting roles behind the starters. One spectacular preseason night opened the door. Weeks of disciplined football will decide whether he has earned the right to stay inside it. I want the fan base in the war room on this one. Drop your answer in the comments. Are you protecting Rodgers on the 53-man roster, or demanding another dominant preseason before trusting him? I would not hand him the spot yet, but I refuse to dismiss a defender who showed, even in a small sample, an instinct coaches struggle to teach. This story could change the Chargers' offense. Everybody wants to know what Mike McDaniel can do for Justin Herbert. ESPN's Ben Solak put another partnership under the spotlight: McDaniel and Omarion Hampton. That does not minimize Herbert. It shows how the running game could stop everything from depending on Herbert's arm. Hampton played 9 games as a rookie, rushing for 545 yards and 4 touchdowns while adding 192 receiving yards and another score. Ankle injuries interrupted his rhythm, but his early stretch justified the investment. Over the first 5 weeks, he produced 450 yards from scrimmage, despite contact behind the line on 57.6% of his carries. Of his 314 rushing yards during that span, 269 came after contact. That is productive violence. Hampton finishes runs by falling forward. He stays balanced through the first hit and turns imperfect blocking into usable yardage. Sometimes he seeks contact too eagerly, and that must change to protect his body. Reducing him to a pure power back would be a huge mistake. Before the ankle injury reduced his burst, he reached 21.3 miles per hour on a 54-yard touchdown against the Giants. Power and acceleration lived together. The problem in 2025 was how often Hampton had to win the first collision before plays could breathe. By season's end, he had been contacted behind the line on 52.4% of his attempts, the 3rd highest rate among backs with at least 100 carries. No back should manufacture offense that way. Tyler Biadasz, Cole Strange, and Jake Slaughter are supposed to repair the interior line, but the biggest change may come from the design. McDaniel learned the running game beside Kyle Shanahan before motion and quick passing made him famous in Miami. His system uses movement, angles, and formations to force lighter defenders into choices they hate. Alec Ingold, following him to Los Angeles, gives Hampton a fullback who understands collisions and clears paths. Miami led the league in explosive run rate on running back carries during McDaniel's final season because the ground game was a knockout punch, not a routine call before passing. Picture the effect on a defense. If the front collapses inside to absorb Hampton's power, McDaniel can send the run outside and force cornerbacks or safeties to tackle a larger athlete at speed. If those defenders attack downhill early, Herbert hits the space behind them. If they hesitate, Hampton bursts through the opening. The same personnel and alignment can threaten force, speed, or play action. The defense loses its chance to choose correctly before the snap. That is why my optimism gets aggressive here. The Chargers did not bring McDaniel to Los Angeles just for pretty passing concepts. They hired an architect of conflict, and Hampton gives him brutal material. A runner who survives contact and punishes one bad angle with an explosive gain. Health will decide plenty. The rebuilt line must prove new names produce better results. Hampton also has to protect himself instead of turning every carry into a collision contest. But if these pieces connect, Herbert will no longer need to carry the offense. He will command a unit that forces opponents to choose how they want to suffer. Against an AFC that punishes predictable football, that choice could separate another promising season from an offense built for January. That would change more than the box score. It would change the burden on every third down, how opponents rush Herbert, and the confidence Los Angeles carries into close fourth quarters. 4 stories. 4 tests of courage. Thompson must turn speed into trust. Addison only makes sense if opportunity and price meet correctly. Rodgers has to prove his feel for the football can survive repetition. Hampton may give McDaniel the hammer this offense has been missing without forcing Herbert to carry every possession. My verdict is simple. This roster cannot choose between development and competing now. It has to do both with urgency. Rank these 4 stories in the comments by season-changing potential. Hit the like button and subscribe. Every decision on this channel will be judged by the only standard that matters: winning when the pressure rises.